Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast with the headlines of the day from our correspondents from around the world. I'm Wang Zihang. Coming up in this edition, the US and Israel has sent delegations to Qatar for Gaza ceasefire talks, but Hamas said it would not participate. Ukrainian forces have advanced further into the Kursk region of Russia, while Moscow is vowing to expel them from Russian territory. And World Health Organization has declared Mpox a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years. We begin in the Middle East. The US and Israel has sent delegations to Qatar for Gaza ceasefire talks. Hamas already said it would not participate. The Palestinian militant group told mediators that it is willing to meet after the discussions. For more, here's Adel Al-Marouki.
So from Hamas's perspective, it sees that it makes no use for it to engage in new rounds of negotiations through which Hamas believes Israel will be trying to push for new demands. On the contrary, Hamas wants to all mediators are engaged that, like Egypt, Qatar and the United States, present or work on an executable plan for an earlier agreement, which was based on President Joe Biden's initiative for a ceasefire agreement, and Hamas says it has accepted it already. So that's one of the main reasons that Hamas is not participating. This comes, of course, besides the assassination of its leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, which also makes Hamas not participating with talks that will include directly or indirectly the Israeli delegation as well. That's one of the main things. The other points that are now being discussed and expected to be discussed in Doha is Israel's demand to stay with its troops on the Egyptian-Gaza border, something that Egypt has repeatedly denied. This area is called the Philadelphia Corridor. It's a buffer zone between Egypt and Gaza and has been there and part of the peace agreement between Egypt and Israel. But because of the ongoing military campaign in Gaza, Israel has taken control of the passage. It has also taken control of the Rafah crossing, which is the only gateway that connects Palestinians with Egypt and basically the outer world that Israel doesn't directly connect. And that's some of the demands that Israel will be pushing for in this round of talk. Also, on the other side, there has been demands from Israel to push for keeping its security forces in Gaza as displaced Palestinians go back home, which is also one of the demands that Hamas strictly rejects.
That was Adel Al-Marouki on the Gaza peace talks in Qatar. Meantime, in Gaza, at least 15 Palestinians, including children, have been killed following intensive Israeli attacks on the city of Khan Yunis. Akram Al-Satari has details.
There has just been a very violent strike that took place in Khan Yunis East area. The Palestinian civil defense is, in the meantime, trying to help as much people as they can. Right in front of me, there was a child that was hit and his family was rushing to the emergency department because they were extremely worried about his safety. And every incident that takes place, children are affected, either killed or injured or left with a lifetime scars because of losing their family member. And this is the situation, and this is how it unfolds for the people in Gaza.
That was Akram Al-Satari reporting from Gaza. Turning to Europe, Ukrainian forces have advanced further into the Kursk region of Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky indicated that Kyiv could establish a military command office covering over 1,000 square kilometers in the region. Ukraine also said the gains will provide a strategic buffer zone to protect its border areas from Russian attacks. Russian President Vladimir Putin has vowed to expel the Ukrainian troops. Moscow said it shot down 117 Ukrainian drones and 4 missiles. Satellite images show Russian trenches in Kursk as residents continue to evacuate. The Russian National Guard said it is enhancing security at the local nuclear power plant, which sits 35 kilometers from the fighting. Dasha Chernyshova has details.
The regional state of emergency that has been declared in Belgorod region has been explained as by the needs of extra security for the civilian population of this region, because according to the governor Vyacheslav Gladkov, the region has been under daily attacks from the Ukrainian side. As a result of the shelling, as a result of drone strikes, the authorities will appeal to the government to translate the regional state of emergency into the federal emergency. We understand that more people have been evacuated from the neighboring Kursk region over the course of the past days. And overnight, there have been at least 117 drones coming from the Ukrainian side against the Russian regions. In Belgorod, there were 17. In the Kursk region, there were 37. In Voronezh region, there were another 37. The Russian Ministry of Defense once again saying that they have been preventing and repelling the Ukrainian attempts to get deeper inside the Kursk region. They say they have been attacking the mobile groups of the Ukrainian military inside Russia, and the security measures have indeed been strengthened, especially at the nuclear sites. But what is important at the moment for Moscow is to make sure that the Ukrainian troops are outside the Russian sovereign territory. And we understand from the words of the Russian officials that the Ukrainian incursion against the Russian territory has put the possibility of holding the ceasefire negotiations on the long pause.
There was Dasha Chernyshova reporting from Moscow. In the meantime, Russian authorities have issued a mandatory evacuation order for all residents of the Glushkovsky district in Kursk. That district, which borders Ukraine, includes 2 towns and 11 villages. Magumilim has details.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday Ukrainian forces had advanced 1 to 2 kilometers deeper into the Kursk region and that troops had finished clearing the Russian town of Sudzha of Moscow's forces. Kiev has so far claimed to have captured in total more than 1,000 square kilometers of territory. Authorities in the Belgorod region declared a state of emergency, the second Russian region to do so following attacks by Ukrainian forces. The Russian Ministry of Emergencies on Wednesday released footage of evacuation from 2 districts in the Kursk region. So far, Moscow has evacuated almost 200,000 people from border areas.
It's very hard to assess how deeply they penetrated, because they are being, according to our Ministry of Defense and according to the pictures that I saw, we are continuing to eliminate their equipment and their manpower.
Ukraine has said that the incursion is to bring the conflict home to Russia and force Moscow into making peace.
There was Magumilim reporting from Kyiv. Elsewhere in Europe, the worst wildfire of the year in Greece has forced thousands of people to flee their homes and find shelter outside Athens. The fires have burned across more than 100 square kilometers of land northeast of the capital. At least 1 person has died. Evangelos Sipsas has more.
Everywhere you turn your head, burned trees and ashes, the remains of Athens' deadly fire. Among the trees, 4 walls stand. It's the only thing left of Yannis's house. It is here where he worked as an artist. It is here where he lived for over 12 years. But the flames took all that away.
It all happened around 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Monday. It did not burn overnight. This whole neighborhood was burned between those times. It happened really quickly. Now I'll have to find something to rent, but I don't know where. I'm not sure if I can live in Athens anymore.
The blaze that burned from Sunday forced 11 communities and villages to evacuate and thousands to find shelter elsewhere. That's why the government has set up centers across the capital to distribute essentials and places to host them.
We have been welcoming people that lost their homes or have been taken out of hospices in order to provide a safe shelter for some hours. Then we immediately send them out to hotels that have been funded, subsidized by the state. They will stay there for about 2 or 3 days, hopefully going back to the house that is now accessible again.
But can people affected by extreme weather conditions return to their neighborhoods to rebuild their houses and live again? According to Greek scientists, the climate forecast exceeds their scientific research by creating longer periods of drought and extreme heat waves, such as wildfires. And some communities have already started to suffer. The term climate refugee has been lingering more and more lately as communities face more extreme weather conditions, forcing them to call elsewhere home. While the Greek government has put a plan together to support those affected by such events financially, scientists warn that without a plan to avoid these disasters, more and more people will have to migrate within their own borders. While financial support provided by the government to people like Yanis who have lost everything could ease the blow and help them rebuild their life, without a plan to preserve and protect areas like these, internal displacement will become a reality.
There was Evangelos Ipsos on the raging wildfire in Greece. Finally, on global health, the World Health Organization has declared Mpox a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years. An outbreak of the viral infection from the Democratic Republic of the Congo has spread to neighboring countries. Earlier, Africa's top public health body called the epidemic a public health emergency of continental security. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has reported hundreds of deaths on the continent this year, marking a 160% increase from last year. Jody Jacobs tells us more.
The World Health Organization says the speed of the Mpox outbreak in the past few weeks is alarming. The WHO on Wednesday convened a meeting of its emergency committee to evaluate the surge in Africa.
The detection and rapid spread of a new clade of Mpox in eastern DRC, its detection in neighboring countries that had not previously reported Mpox, and the potential for further spread within Africa and beyond is very worrying.
Burundi is the latest country where Mpox has been confirmed. According to the World Health Organization, the Democratic Republic of Congo has the highest number of reported cases, with outbreaks also reported in neighboring Rwanda, Uganda and Kenya. Since the beginning of the year, more than 15,000 cases and 500 deaths have been reported. Mpox is transmitted through close contact and causes flu-like symptoms and lesions. Most cases are mild, but it can kill, and the new variant of an endemic strain appears to spread more easily, particularly among children. Tedros Ghebreyesus says the WHO is helping support a rollout of vaccines.
WHO has developed a regional response plan requiring an initial $15 million. We have released about $1.5 million from the WHO contingency fund for emergencies, and we plan to release more in the coming days. We're also appealing to donors to fund the rest of the response plan.
Meanwhile, in Gaza, the health organization is fighting another possible emergency. The WHO says the risk of polio spreading is high, and unless there is an urgent response, this could constitute a serious health threat for the children of Gaza. A humanitarian ceasefire, it says, needs to be implemented so that it can vaccinate as many children as possible to mitigate the risk of transmission.
That was Jody Jacobs reporting. Now recapping today's headlines. The US and Israel have sent delegations to Qatar for Gaza's ceasefire talks, which Hamas said it would not attend. Ukrainian forces have advanced further into the Kursk region of Russia. Moscow has vowed to expel them from Russian territory. And the World Health Organization has declared Mpox a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years. That's it for this edition of The Top Story, a podcast that brings you world headlines every weekday. For more news in politics, business, sports and culture, you can subscribe to the Beijing Hour, a 1-hour podcast news magazine program. We welcome and appreciate all ratings and reviews. And once again, thank you for listening.